Meow! Welcome to the PodKat. This is Kat, and you are hearing from me from my pod. Well, that was backwards. Anyways, happy April 16th. Oh my gosh, it is one of our previous guests, Kim's birthday today. Not my wife, Kim, my high school Kim. She did the episode to us about motherhood. Yay. So today we are talking about movies, and I brought in someone who knows a little something about movies. Hi, Molly.
Hello.
Hey, girl. You want to tell us where you are and who you are?
Yes, I am in Burbank, California, I think we're 3 blocks up from you, if I'm remembering correctly, on the same street.
Yes. I run past your house on my little runs sometimes, but...
Yes. And I am a script supervisor in film and now most recently screenwriter.
And recording over Skype. That is a precaution we've taken, but it's still nice to hear your voice today. So,
likewise.
So you work in the industry of film. What happened with sets going on pause or being canceled for the pandemic?
Yeah, so I was actually, it was March 12th. I was at a table read for a show that I had just gotten hired on, and we were about 20 minutes into the table read, and the producers come in, and I was just had this gut feeling of oh, I know what's about to happen, because I'd seen other productions saying we're postponing, all that type of stuff popping up on Twitter and the news and everything. And yeah, the producers came in and basically said, sorry guys, but we are shutting down the production in its entirety right now. We need everybody to calmly leave the building. They estimated that they're our hope is April 2nd that we'll be back to it, but obviously because of the continued rise in cases and everything, and the most recent quarantine period date of May 15th, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm in a few assistant director groups on Facebook, and a bunch of them have been asking about, hey, when things do slowly reopen, what are precautions we can take on set, and do we need to limit the number of people there? And people are trying to figure out what to do when things reopen.
Yeah, I actually read a really interesting article on Deadline yesterday, and that was the whole topic, was the estimated return of when productions would start up again, but also how do productions move forward now? Because obviously they want to stay safe and everything, and so they're well, does it make sense to do screenings every day for the cast and crew that come in? But those take 15, 20 minutes to get results back with the tests that they would use. But it was an interesting read, because that was their whole topic of how do we go forward now?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's just going to be a play it by ear kind of thing, as well as see what everyone else is doing. I feel a lot of stuff is we're all penguins standing at the top of the cliff, and once one jumps, everyone's okay, it felt nothing closed, and then suddenly it was Disney, Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags, they all closed, right? Yeah. Everyone's kind of looking to take cues from the biggers.
Trial and error, I feel because, this is new for everybody. Even the scientists are having to be okay, how are we going to deal with this?
Yeah, I've been wondering about those ads, for Amazon, or there's ads right now where they're we care about our workers, and they're showing them wearing masks and this and I'm who recorded this 4K high def great looking ad? Are you?
No, I'm not the only one wondering that, because I was talking to my roommate Chris about that. I'm who's making these commercials?
Yeah, my wife is just pay your people if you care about them. Pay your workers. Yeah. Hey, Kat from the future editing. I'm aware there's a clicky noise. I'm really sorry about it. I was moving a tablecloth. I promise it stops after this. I just wanted you to know however much it annoyed you, it annoyed me tenfold. So I'm sorry. Obviously, you're movie-y, and I thought about asking you, and I did, for movie suggestions, since everyone's at home quarantined, mostly thinking of stuff.
Small, and then then I couldn't stop.
Well, you gave me a great suggestion of Waking Ned Divine, which is one of my family's favorite movies. It's an Irish movie, for anyone who doesn't know. It came out in 1998. And I was thinking that, like, not that many people know that movie, and I think it's, like, incredible. And so it got me thinking about movies that are, like, underrated or kind of unknown, as well as, like, overrated, not worth your time movies. So today's episode, we have a list to share. We're supposed to do, like, 5-ish overrated and underrated movies each, but my list definitely got a lot longer.
Oh,
so
I'm not the only one. I going through, I'm like, oh my gosh, my list of underrated is so much higher than my overrated.
Oh, yeah, overrated was hard for me because I was like, there's a few that I have, like, personal vendettas against, but, like, when I started making the list, I was either like, okay, people are gonna hate me for saying this, so I shouldn't, or...
I have a few that people are probably gonna not be thrilled, but again, it's just my own personal opinion of it.
Oh, totally. But I also have some that I'm like, maybe I just need to rewatch them. Maybe I'd like them better now. So for underrated, I tried to look at movies that, like, were box office flops or critical failures, didn't get the nominations they deserved, or I just tried to, mostly my list is like movies people probably haven't heard of. So that's probably where I'm at with that.
I have a few on mine or ones probably people have never heard of either.
Yeah, I mean, that's my hope, because honestly, if people have heard of these movies and don't like them, I have problems with that, because these movies are so good. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, maybe they don't know this movie exists.
There you go.
And then for my overrated one, I tried to, again, like, just personal ones that I'm like, I don't think it deserves the accolades it got. But everyone said, when I was looking up, like, overrated movies, just for suggestions and ideas, everyone was saying Shakespeare in Love, which I love that movie. I thought it was so good, but people hate it.
They did a good job with that.
I thought it was really charming. I don't know. People hated that movie.
Interesting that's overrated.
I know. Well, I thought about, like, my biggest list of, like, overrated films, which this is not my list, but these were, like, the ones that first came to mind. I was like, I think I just need to rewatch them, because I watched them when I was really little. But, like, I was not won over by Breakfast at Tiffany's, Casablanca, Citizen Kane, Jerry Maguire. Like, those all came to my mind of, like, movies I watched when I was, like, 10 or 12 that I was like, is anyone else as freaking bored as I am right now? So I think those I probably need to rewatch. I know people, like, worship Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I don't worship
it. I do enjoy it, though.
Yeah, it's probably more charming as an adult. I think as a kid, I was just like, what is this girl whining about?
Yeah. I mean, I also love Truman Capote, and so that's another reason why I probably have a soft spot for that.
Mm-hmm. So, well, let's hop into the list then. We can just rotate back and forth. You want to start with your first underrated one, maybe?
Yes. My first underrated one is a movie called Paperman.
I don't know of this. When did it come out?
It came out in 2009, and it stars one of my all-time favorite actors, Jeff Daniels, in it. Ryan Reynolds, Lisa Kudrow, Emma Stone, and Kieran Culkin.
Oh my gosh. I have some Culkin brothers on my list. There's like two movies that I have on here that both have Rory Culkin in them. So, underappreciated actors.
Yes. I forget how I came across Paperman. Probably Jeff Daniels was like, what's a movie I haven't seen with him in it? It's an indie film. I don't even know if it hit theaters. But Jeff Daniels is like a struggling writer, and he goes to this cabin to try and figure stuff out, but he has this imaginary friend, Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Reynolds is dressed up in like a superhero, like very kind of like Superman costume, bleach blonde hair. And Emma Stone acts as under false pretenses, like a babysitter. But it was just like, it's a really sweet story of personal struggles that you see with each person, how they're coping. And I love those types of movies.
Mm-hmm. It's giving me, first, the poster to me looks a little like Birdman of Alcatraz. And then when you were saying that he has like an invisible friend, it was kind of making you think of like Jojo Rabbit. But then the plot sounds a little more like Lars and the Real Girl, where like...
Right. It's a lovely like mishmash of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realized most of my movies that I put on here are from 2000 to 2010. And I was like, I didn't even think I was that big of a fan of that decade, but I have a lot of under...
I think mine are a lot older. not older than that, but like that same time where it's like, oh, not many new ones.
Yeah, but like apparently my underappreciated films are all movies that I checked out of the Netflix when they would send you the movies to your home, the DVD, like those ones that you don't
the
see.
good old days.
My first one is like my biggest recommendation. Like if I could recommend any one movie to people, this is like my wife and I initially like bonded over how much we love this movie. And maybe people know about it. Wristcutters.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Have you seen this?
I have seen this.
Okay.
To be fair, I saw it a decade ago.
Yeah, it came out in 2006. It's called Wristcutters, A Love Story. It's Patrick Fugit is in it, and I love him. I can't tell the difference between him and Paul Dano, honestly, but I love them both.
Yeah.
It got a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. It cost $1 million to make, and it only made $450,000. So box office flop, as well as not apparently loved by the critics. It was filmed on 16 millimeter. It premiered at Sundance. It's called a black comedy fantasy, and I think probably most of my films on here are like black comedies. It tends to be what I like. It's like bizarre humor that's maybe not for other people. I really loved that movie, The Lobster, and I know a lot of people didn't like that, but...
You know, I actually haven't seen The Lobster yet.
I thought it was hilarious, and I came out of the film and people were like, I'm so mad I didn't laugh once. And I was like, what?
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I guess I like weird humor. But okay, so this Wristcutters movie is like everything that I love in a movie, which is kind of magic realism, where like everything's very normal, but there's a little bit of fantastic element to it. So Patrick Fugit kills himself at the beginning of the movie because his girlfriend died, and so he's like sad. So he's in this purgatory where everything is the same but a little worse. So the colors are like a little muted, and you like can't smile, and it like rains upside down. Like there's just like weird mismatchy things that are kind of the same, but then like you almost forget they're dead. And then he just goes on a road trip, and it's like when the CDs fall under the chair of the car, they just like disappear. Yeah. Like they're just gone. Yeah. So there's things where it's like kind of funny. But a lot of the soundtrack is done by Gogol Bordello, which is lovely. But I was thinking of another movie that came out in 2006 that I thought was kind of underrated. The British movie Cashback I liked a lot.
I don't know that one.
It was really interesting, but the reason I didn't put it on my list is because I haven't seen it in so long. It's been a really long time. And I remember there being like nudity, and I wasn't sure how much. I didn't want to like fully recommend it, but I remember it being interesting. But the one that I would say Wristcutter is kind of reminiscent of is if you liked Safety Not Guaranteed from 2012 with Mark Duplass and Aubrey Plaza. Brilliant, a beautiful film. But I love movies like that where it's kind of like, I guess, a romantic comedy, but you like kind of don't know you're watching a romantic comedy. So that would be my first one. You want to give us your first overrated?
Yes, first overrated, and I'm going to get so much flack for this one. La La Land.
Okay, I thought so much about whether or not to put La La Land on there, but I was like, so many people hate this movie, it's too divisive. And I don't have anything against it, I just wasn't like blown away the way I wanted to be.
But that's my thing too. I think that they did a great job with that movie, and the fact that it was also an original musical, kudos. Like, that is phenomenal, especially with how much success it had. I personally wasn't blown away with it. Like, there were points during it where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for it to be over now, and we still have 40 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of musicals, so actually a lot of my list is musicals that disappointed me, because I love musicals.
Yeah, and I mean, I love musicals too, but this one I was just like, Like, yeah, the dancing's good, the music's good, but I just wasn't, like, in love like a lot of people were.
Mm-hmm. My first movie on my list is, first of all, any movie about cheating. Like, if it's a romanticized cheating film, unless it's Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans from 1927, I don't want it. So, my first one is Affair to Remember from 1957 with Cary Grant. This movie is just disappointing and pathetic and sad. Like, it makes me so mad. It's a movie about cheating, and you may not know the movie unless I mention that it was in Sleepless in Seattle. Another disappointing movie for me was, I love Nora Ephron and I love Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, but I would say a better one would be the more traditional You've Got Mail, the greatest of movies, or which I've never seen the original. I know that it's a sequel, the Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan one. I would say the most underrated would be go see Joe versus the Volcano instead of Sleepless in Seattle. Huge.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Joe versus the Volcano is gorgeous. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Meg Ryan plays like 5 different characters.
Oh, whoa.
She just plays herself in different wigs and is like 5 different women throughout the film. It's stunning. If you like Punch Drunk Love,
yes,
you would like Joe versus the Volcano. It's like that, where it's a little being John Malkovich-y, where it's like kind of like very, like, I would say surreal elements. Like, he's in his workplace at the beginning, but it's kind of like a prison complex, but it's supposed to be like an office. Like, it just looks really like German expressionism kind of set pieces, where it looks really like awful. And then he hears that he's sick and is going to die, but he's offered like all this money and a wonderful 2-week vacation if he throws himself into a volcano at the end of the 2 weeks. And this is Tom Hanks. And so it's like Tom Hanks, charming, wonderful, but also like, is he going to die at the end of the movie? And then like women keep coming into his life and influencing him in different ways, and all of them are Meg Ryan. So huge wreck. But yeah, Affair to Remember, underwhelmed. Okay, your next your next underrated movie.
My next underrated, and I don't know, maybe it's not underrated. I think it is, because I don't really hear that many people talk about it. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh, this is on my list of one that I should watch, but I've not seen it.
Okay, I love this movie, and I guess it can technically fall under a Christmas movie. Because it takes place during Christmas, but it is one of my favorite performances of Robert Downey Jr.
I was going to say, this is his, like, comeback movie. Like, because of this is why he got Iron Man, right?
Yeah, it was, like, one of his first movies that he did sober.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has Val Kilmer in it, who I feel like is hit or miss with his performance. He's either awful or he's outstanding. And he's outstanding in this. And it's just such a well-written, funny movie that also has, it feels like film noir. Like, it's modern day, but feels like film noir, and I love that genre.
Yeah, this is 2005, and then the first Iron Man is 2008, so I think this really put Robert Downey Jr. back on the map.
Yeah, and he did wonderful with it.
Well, I look forward to watching this one. It definitely was on my list.
Yes, and it has a Shannon Sossamon in it, too. A little Wristcutters connection right there.
Ugh, that movie's so good. Just making these lists, I just was so like, I need to go rewatch these movies. And then it also just, I don't know, it really inspires me, like, film writing. I mean, especially, like, scripts I get really into.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was written by Shane Black, who, like, I don't know what it is, but I actually really enjoy his writing. Like, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys, like, even The Lethal Weapons, I think it's actually, like, it's smartly written.
Well, I will look into this one. I'm excited. So my next one is, this is probably my most, like, mainstream on the list, but 2007 Stardust came out. Did you see this movie?
Oh, I know about it. I don't think I've actually seen it in its entirety. Okay. I've seen it in bits and pieces.
It is Hook for adults. Like, it's such a charming, fantastical tale. And it made me feel like I was like a little kid again as an adult watching a movie, just enjoying it, not thinking about anything other than, like, the story elements, which is really rare. Neil Gaiman wrote it as a novel and then produced it. Claire Danes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ricky Gervais, Rupert Everett. It's narrated by Sir Ian McKellen. Like, it's a big cast. It only got 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think it's in the same caliber as like Big Fish for me, where it's just this gorgeous, wonderful fantasy, and you don't get a lot of adult films like this without like over-sexualizing it or having it be like a huge action blockbuster. Like, this just felt like a really charming fairy tale. So, big rec on that. Did you want to go to your next overrated?
This is one who I really enjoy. This director, have been a fan since I can remember, but I just did not feel this movie, The Hateful Eight.
Okay, yeah, I've not seen this one because this is Tarantino, right?
This is Tarantino, and I enjoy Tarantino.
Yeah, I have a hot take on here, which is, this is not like on my list, but I just wanted to say a controversial hot take, which was, I think Jackie Brown is the best Tarantino.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. That is a wonderful movie.
Yeah, and maybe it's just because Pam Grier is so wonderful to me, and I've like met her. She's in Colorado, so I like had that connection. But my other controversial hot take was that I think the best Wes Anderson movie is Rushmore.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I mean, I know Royal Tenenbaums and Pulp Fiction are like the big, Tenenbaums is the big Wes Anderson and Pulp Fiction is the big Tarantino. But I just wanted to throw those out there. So, Hateful Eight. I didn't even see it because I was so like mad with Tarantino. So.
And it's so hard because it has a ton of my favorite actors. Number one, Kurt Russell, who I will see anything that has Kurt Russell. I have loved him since I saw him in Overboard and will love him till the day I die. And so I was excited for it because I'm like, oh my God, Tarantino with Kurt Russell, Sam Jackson, Bruce Dern, like all these amazing actors. And I feel like, yes, the cinematography was really good. And like, there's this one shot where it was an extreme wide and nothing but snow, and it's just Sam Jackson's character walking, and he's like the size of an ant. It was beautiful. But I feel like Tarantino just went too extreme with everything. Like, he was like, oh, I'm Tarantino, I can do crazy stuff, so I'll kind of overplay it. Like, it felt too much. Like, he was I don't want to say like a gimmick of it, but it kind of felt that way. And I just like, and I can handle gore. Like, I'm a huge horror fan. Mm-hmm. I watch some insane movies. I just felt like it was too like, oh, let's just go crazy with this.
Yeah, I'm crazy about, I love Kill Bill. Like, that series is gorgeous to me.
Funny thing about Kill Bill is years ago when I was living with my mom, neither one of us could sleep one night, and so we just turned it on TCM, and there was a movie called Lady Snowblood, and we were watching it, and it's a Japanese black and white film. Mm-hmm. We were watching it, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is Kill Bill. And I looked it up, and that is where Tarantino got his inspiration, was from this Japanese movie, Lady Snowblood.
I mean, so that's a way better name. Well. That name is like way better than like Kill Bill, which is like, elementary student named it. So, what, Lady Snowblood?
Yeah, I am triple checking that right now. Yeah, Lady Snowblood, 1973.
You piqued my interest. That's brilliant.
It's good. I mean, it really is like Kill Bill.
My overrated number 2 was, and this is in no particular order, but what I call my Academy bait film, which is like the example I always use of why films that's like Oscar baits really bother me, and that's The King's Speech.
Okay.
From 2010. I love Colin Firth. Mm-hmm. And this movie to me, like, it doesn't really have, I mean, the man has a stutter. It's not a revolutionary plot. Like, to me, like, a movie like Lion has such an incredible story behind it. Like, I'm wowed by something like that. Like, what a story. Or, oh my gosh, like, the performance of something can, like, really blow it away. But seriously, this was like such a stacked cast. It got 12 Oscar noms. It won 4. It won Best Picture, Director, Actor, Screenplay. And it was up against Black Swan and Inception, which I think both are, first of all, better films, and second of all, have like held the test of time a little better. Mm-hmm. Like, no one's like, Inception who? Like, that still is talked about. And I just think The King's Speech is one that got a lot of Oscar buzz, and because everyone loved the cast, but it kind of has been forgotten. No, like, real merit or heart. I think that's what I'm lacking from it. It's like there's no passion in it. It didn't feel like this was anyone's like Garden State. You know, it's not like the movie they had to make. Yeah. So your next underrated movie.
My next underrated is, let's go for Table 19.
Wait, I love this one. This is they're at the wedding.
Yes.
Yes, I love this one. It's so, so good.
Okay, I'm so happy that you've seen this movie.
Yes, more people need to see this movie. It was so funny. I love the like creepy uncle. What's that character's name? Steven? Is it Stephen Merchant?
Oh yeah, it was Stephen Merchant.
He's so funny. Yes. Oh my gosh, this was a good movie.
Yes, and it has Anna Kendrick, who I love. Mm-hmm. But like Lisa Kudrow, Craig Robinson, and pairing those two up as a couple, I thought was brilliant. Oh,
I had seen the guy that is Anna Kendrick's ex, the brother. I had seen him in that Black Mirror episode. I think it's Playtest or something.
Yes, Kurt Russell's son.
Oh, okay, I'm seeing a thing here. Yes. But all I had seen him in was Black Mirror, where he's totally different, because everyone in Black Mirror is a psycho.
Yeah, and I loved it so much. It was just... and it's hard to explain what was so special about it. And I feel like there was something that I could relate to for each character. And they're so wildly different, too. Mm-hmm. But I could find something where it's like, oh, I totally get what that person is saying. Like, yep, I've been there. I can relate to that. And even though you don't see her, I picked her voice out immediately. And I love that she's in it. Margot Martindale.
Oh, I've watched a lot of BoJack Horseman recently. Yeah, my heart really went out to the woman in Table 19 who was like the former nanny.
Yes, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, mm-hmm. but you know that scene in the end. I started crying at that part.
I love movies like this. This is the kind of movie that I want to write. Like, I guess I enjoy like an Avengers, blockbuster.
Yeah, they're always fun.
There's fun.
You just need to,
But these are the kinds of movies that are really intriguing to me, and the kind of movies that like inspire and influence me is characters having like revelations and breakthroughs, and maybe in small ways. I've been talking recently about how much I hate coming of age films, because I don't think you grow up all at once. And I don't think that like the prom or the graduation was the big catalyst in most people's life. I really do think it is, one weekend at a wedding, you have this breakthrough experience, and then you have it's like you backslide and you go forward, and then I don't know. I like movies like that, where it's like small stepping stones of change.
Yeah, this is definitely one that stuck with me, not only for the performances, but for the writing. And like, as I'm going further into being a screenwriter, it's like, oh, I want to be like this good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my next underrated is, again, one that people may know of, but if people know of this and aren't talking about it, it's hurting me because it's so good. Be Kind, Rewind.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen that once.
Okay, it came out in 2008. It was one of those Sundance movies. Jack Black, Donnie Glover. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Mos Def? Mia Farrow. And Jack Black can be kind of insufferable to me. Like, he can be at times annoying. Like, I guess I like him in School of Rock, but there are times when I'm just like, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, this movie's good because Jack Black is in it. I would say he's not a trusted actor of mine. But I love his performance in this. I think he's really, like, purposefully annoying, but then has heart, and I really appreciate that. But Danny Glover owns, like, an old Blockbuster-type store, video rental station, and he leaves for the weekend, and Mos Def is supposed to watch the store, and then Jack Black comes in and accidentally erases all of the videos because he has radiation on him. He's kind of like this trash rat of a character.
Yeah.
And he and Mos Def Mia Farrow comes in to rent a movie, and they're like, "Wait, we're not ready." And then they go in the back and they like film it themselves, like in 15 minutes, just like a recap of the movie. And if you're a fan of like improv comedy, you probably will like this because it feels a lot like it. First of all, this is such a good movie for movie lovers because they go through Jaws, Driving Miss Daisy. Like, they go through all these big movies and recreate them. Pulp Fiction. Like, there's just so many funny recaps of movies that you love, and so that's rewarding. But it also just, it has such a heart. It's so sweet. Like, it actually like it makes me like tear up, and I'm a robot, so that takes a lot. Another '08 Sundance movie that I almost brought up was Hamlet 2. Did you see this?
No.
Well, the reason I didn't bring it up was because I haven't seen it probably since '08, and so, well, probably '09 when it came out on Netflix, but I haven't seen it in so long, so I feel like I can't fully give a rec. But I remember really loving it. It only got a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was a $9 million budget and only made $4 million, so it was kind of a flop. But Catherine Keener is in it, and she's in most of my underrated movies. I love her. Steve Coogan, David Arquette, Amy Poehler, Skylar Astin. Like, it had a huge cast. But it's like this high school acting teacher who isn't getting much interest in the plays. And so he writes Hamlet too. And everyone's like, no, it ended. How? And he's like, no, I've got more.
We all know how well the first one went.
So I thought it was super funny. But again, I haven't seen it in as long, so I can't full-heartedly recommend it as much as Be Kind, Rewind.
It's going on my list.
You want to give your next Overrated, I think is where we were.
Yes, my next Overrated. And it breaks my heart because, again, I love this director, and I was actually really looking forward to this movie when it came out, The Shape of Water.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this one too. I didn't dislike it, but it does seem like the movies that you're looking forward to the most are the ones that break your heart. But
I expected more. Like, I went into it like, this is Guillermo del Toro, and again, like, the actual look of the film, phenomenal. The way they used green and blue in it, love. And Michael Shannon and Sally Hawkins and, I mean, Richard Jenkins. Like, it's such a good cast. But I was not blown away with it. I felt like it wasn't one of my favorites of his. And I watched it once, never need to go see it again.
well, I love, like, monster romances. Like, I'm here for the underdog love story. If you're both, you know, Matthew McConaughey and some gorgeous woman, like, you falling in love is not, I don't care. Congratulations, you're both attractive. But, like, if you are a creature from the Black Lagoon, like, I'm here for that. Like, I love the underdogs. But I think what bothered me about Shape of Water was, I'm no prude, but I felt like it was overly sexual and violent.
I felt like the same. Yeah, I was like, certain parts with Sally Hawkins' character where I'm like, why? Like,
yes. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't really, again, I'm here for Kill Bill. I'm here for Fight Club. Like, I don't have any violence problem where I'm like, this offends me. But I thought it was so unnecessary in this movie. Like, someone gets their thumb cut off. Because I think it's honestly could have been a family movie. It was like, well, I wouldn't share this with a kid.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't want to traumatize children.
But it could have been sweet. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like, my sister loves, like, Pan's Labyrinth. Like, as a kid, she thought that stuff was interesting.
Love that movie.
But this, I thought, like, no, this gets too much.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was, like, why I was probably slightly disappointed with it, was because I was expecting Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, it never gets quite that fantastical.
Yeah.
So my overrated film got me in a lot of trouble in college because of my opinion on it. But the professor asked me in college, it was a big lecture hall, and he knew my name because we went to the same church. And he said, Miss O'Malley, what do you think of West Side Story, which we had just watched?
Okay.
And I told him what I thought of West Side Story. And he wrote the book, literally, on West Side Story. Like,
oh, no.
He was such a West Side Story fan, and it was like a huge thing in his life, and he has dedicated it to his love of West Side Story. Natalie Wood is in it, and she's Russian. She's not Puerto Rican. She's supposed to be playing a Puerto Rican character.
Yeah.
It's a lot of whitewashing.
Yeah.
West Side Story bothers me so much because, again, I love musicals, and, like, I guess the Romeo and Juliet storyline to me is not romantic. Like, I'm just not, you're horny teenagers, you're not, like, in love, and so that bothers me. And then here's a spoiler if you haven't seen West Side Story, so don't listen for 10 seconds. But she doesn't die at the end, only he does. And in Romeo and Juliet, they both die, as it should be. So end of spoiler, but that really bothers me. Oh, apparently there's a new West Side Story that was supposed to come out this year with Ansel Elgort.
Yes, I think I remember hearing about this.
Yeah. So West Side Story, I mean, I can appreciate some of the music and this and that, but it's like... But another one that I didn't want to bring up as much because people love this so much is I hate Phantom of the Opera. I know people...
Well, which one? The most recent?
The Gerard Butler one.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, just as a play, I've seen it live and I just hate it. The whole story. I saw it as a Wishbone episode as a kid and was like, love Wishbone, but I was like, that was a crap story. And the fact that it's like romantic in any way bothers me. It's such a creepy, horrible story.
Yeah. And apparently, I haven't seen the sequel. Apparently, there's a sequel.
No.
That no one needs to see.
Hamlet 2 or nothing. I'm happy for people to have it, but there's I'm more like Cabaret, Chicago, like there's other musicals that thrill me. Okay, your next underrated.
My next underrated, probably one that most everyone has never even heard of, and it's sad. Butter.
It's called Butter?
It's called Butter. Butter. It was made in 2011. And
sorry, is this one about like a butter churning competition? Like they have to like sculpt the butter?
Yes, it is. It's literally what its title is.
Is it Olivia Wilde in it?
So it has an all-star cast. It has Jennifer Garner, Ty Burrell, Kristen, and I never say her last name properly, Schall, Olivia Wilde, Hugh Jackman.
I've seen this movie. Yeah, I remember the Olivia Wilde character the best for some reason.
Yeah, it's just a sweet movie, and I feel like each one of the actors plays a complete opposite of who they usually do. Like, Hugh Jackman is a cowboy.
Yes, I remember this. I liked it.
Yeah, it's just a sweet, good one. It's like a little girl who is in foster care but gets put into a foster home, and she's very like quiet and sticks with herself, but she discovers a love and talent for sculpting out of butter. And so she enters into the competition where Jennifer Garner is like the main person who like always is used to winning, but sees that this kid actually has a talent and is threatened by this little girl sculpting butter.
Yes, and I should say, I just looked it up. Make sure that you watch the 2011 one, not this one where there's one where a lonely obese boy that everyone calls Butter is about to make history. He's going to eat himself to death live on the internet. So
not talking about that one.
Don't watch that one. I don't know anything about it.
The 2011 Butter.
I remember this movie. I thought it was interesting since I don't know anything about butter sculpting. My next one is actually one that I'm hesitant to recommend because it's been a while since I've seen it and it's wildly inappropriate. It's from 2012. It's called Starlett. Have you seen this movie?
It sounds kind of familiar. Okay. I'm going to look it up.
Nobody at all famous is in it. It has no cast. And it is a 21-year-old who befriends an 85-year-old.
Okay, no, I had not seen
made less than $90K at the box office. A dog wears a beret. That's all you need to know. Her dog's named Starlett. So the 21-year-old is an adult film star. And you kind of don't know that, apparently. I guess it's kind of supposed to be a surprise, but I don't know how you don't know that. Like, but I mean, there's like full on, like they're filming like porn in the back of certain shots. So there's like full frontal and male and female nudity. Like it's graphic. But I just thought this movie was so charming. It's kind of like Harold and Maude-esque, but without the romance, where she goes to a garage sale of an 85-year-old woman and buys like a vase and takes it home, and there's like $80,000 in there. Like she finds all this money, but she's like kind of has vague scruples. Like we're not sure that she's going to return the money, but she kind of feels bad, but also she kind of needs the money because she's an adult film star. And so she kind of befriends the neighbor who's really cantankerous and is like the old man from Up. Like, it's just cranky. But she's cranky too. Like, this is not a charming, winsome ingenue who befriends an elderly person and they go on a magical adventure. Like, it's cranky and they fight and they're kind of like perfect for each other. Performances are interesting. It's another 2012 one that is kind of indie that I could have recommended was, that's my way of like sneaking in an extra rec. But I haven't seen this one in a long time either. Electric Children.
Oh, haven't even heard of that.
Oh my gosh, it is incredible. Julia Garner, who is in Grandma, she's so lovely. She plays this youth in, it's supposed to be like a Mormon town, and she's gotten pregnant, and she's like, everyone's like shocked at what happened, and someone thinks that she's been raped, and she's like, no, the music, like I listened to a cassette tape, which I wasn't supposed to do, and that music got me pregnant. So she goes to the city, she like leaves the very secluded religious community and goes to the city to find the person who made the rock and roll tape to tell him that he's the father. And along the way, she meets Rory Culkin, who was also in Chumscrubber, which is another film I highly recommend. I love Chumscrubber. That almost made my list. It's just this weird, like, it has a lot of, I would say, like, religious trauma and sexual assault mentions. So it is a really intense film, but I actually, like, highly recommend it. Very strange story that you normally don't see. Love that one. Okay, so your next overrated.
Yes, my next overrated is Avatar.
I almost did this. I came strongly close to putting, because I was like, I don't care. But then I also was like, I guess I don't care enough to hate it.
I don't hate it. It's just like, I saw it in the theaters, great. Okay, I don't think I've watched it again.
No, I don't understand how this is like the highest grossing this and that. Like, it's just Pocahontas, guys.
Yes, and why they're making a second.
Because of money.
Yeah,
Ka-ching,
it's
ka-ching.
just,
Okay, watching Parks and Rec tonight, I saw this clip of Andy Samberg and Amy Poehler, and I need to share.
Now I understand that you have a bombshell to drop.
Yes, that's correct. I came on today because I have some very important information to share. I finally saw Avatar, and I thought it lived up to the hype.
I'm not sure what that has to do with the mugging. Leslie, counterpoint.
I disagree with Carl. I have seen Avatar as well, and I think it exceeded the hype.
What?
Oh, boy.
Disagreement.
Sorry, I'm editing, and I had to share that clip.
Yeah. I didn't love it as much as other people did. I don't think I even loved it. I enjoyed it for 2.5 hours or 2 hour, 42 minutes of runtime.
The too long runtime.
Yes, the too long runtime. Should have been 2.5, if not less.
Yeah, my next one is from 2017, and it was 2.5 hours, too long. That's its exact runtime. Logan.
The Hugh Jackman Logan one?
The Wolverine.
Okay.
So we watched this at a birthday party where everyone was like really film nerdy there. Like we were all really excited because someone got like a special black and white version of it. I don't know what it was, but it was supposed to be like kind of a high con black and white version. And my wife and I looked at each other so many times throughout, like, can we leave? Like, she was texting me, like, want to get Arby's? Like, we were so bored. This was the first live-action superhero to ever be nominated at an Oscar for screenwriting. It got nominated for...
I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah, it got nominated. It might have won, I don't remember, for, adapted screenplay. It's the fourth highest gross rated R film And I just don't ever think about it, and I want my time back. Like, no. It makes me mad. Like, it makes me mad that I spent time on it.
Yeah.
And then I haven't thought about it since, and it makes me mad that I'm thinking about it now. Like, and I know people say it's gorgeous and the performances and this and that, but if you want to see like post-apocalyptic wasteland with great performances, go see Mad Max Fury Road, because that was gorgeous.
Right.
Okay.
We'll forgive Hugh Jackman for that one because I'm sure he was contractually obligated.
Oh, I love him. I held no ill will to him or Patrick Stewart in my heart. It's the filmmakers I hold accountable and the people who said it was beautiful. Honestly, if it hadn't been built up so much, I probably wouldn't be so angry. That's the truth. Okay, wait. So I have one that is both underrated and overrated. Are you ready for this?
Interesting.
Love Actually is here's my hot take. Here's my hot take. Okay. I feel like this is not a hot take anymore. I feel like everyone is finally coming on board with this. I love Love Actually. I'm here for it. I especially love the part where America is just declared war upon by Britain. Like, that just happens. They're like, we're not friends anymore. No one ever comes back to that. So hugely interesting. No, but I feel like the underrated story in that is the Colin Firth one. I love that story where he goes and chases her down and is like, I learned your language for you.
She learns English.
When he proposes and she's like, oh, sorry, spoiler. And she's like, my answer is being yes. When I was proposed to, that's what I said. My answer is being yes, because it's so cute. But I feel like the overrated part of that movie is the stupid Keira Knightley plot. And honestly, I really dislike Keira Knightley, so that could be part of it.
Okay.
I know, hot take. But that storyline is so creepy. She's married, and this guy is still like coming after her. And when he holds up the thing and is like, tell them it's carolers, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Any kind of like cheating thing, not romantic, not cute, not here for it. So I'd say that's the like somehow the plot that everyone remembers from that movie. And I'm like, ugh, can we cut that one out? I don't need it.
So quick side thing with that then, how do you feel about the Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson storyline of it?
That is such an important storyline.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful, but I don't like think that I don't think it's like romanticizing the affair. Like, I think that like movies like An Affair to Remember, where it's featuring the affair and you're like, I love it. That's what I have a problem with. But oh my gosh, when Emma Thompson is sitting on the bed listening to Joni Mitchell, like, you weep. It's so moving. And I think it's like the strength that she has to go back out there and be like, okay, kids, we're going to the musical. Like, give the woman all the Oscars.
Right there.
Yeah.
That is how a lot of people deal with it in that moment.
Oh, and frankly, the most realistic of all the stories. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. I think that's a really important story. I love that aspect of it.
I love Love Actually.
Okay, my next underrated film is honestly one of my favorite, like, top 10 favorite films. Crazy about this movie. And it actually did okay, but, like, this is like a life-changing movie to me. It's Garden State for adults. The movie is called Beginners.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen this movie from 2010? Yeah.
Let me look it up.
No one has seen this movie. It's stunning. Ewan McGregor is in it, Melanie Laurent. Christopher Plummer won an Academy Award for Best Actor, and it premiered at TIFF. So, like, this is the kind of movie I want to make. It's like a very unconventional love story. It's like not really, like, the romance is not the forefront of it, but it's part of it. I got a really cool experience with this where I was in film school at the time, and my teacher knew Mike Mills, who's the director. He wrote it and directed it. And she was like, we're going to go to a screening where he's there and he's going to answer your questions. And there was like 10 of us. And so I got to like actually talk to him for a long time about the film. And the reason I say it's Garden State for adults is, first of all, just like thematically, it's kind of similar, where there's like kind of depression going on, but it's also like maybe a quirky romance, somewhat of a manic pixie dream girl lead, but I think she's fleshed out and really charming. And it's like they're on roller skates and it's so cute and they run away from the roller rink on their, like, just the trailer alone is very captivating. But the reason I say it's Garden State for adults is because, like Zach Braff, Mike Mills wrote this, directed it. He didn't star in it, but he has his hands in every aspect of it, which to me is a passion project.
Yes.
And that's what I'm all about. It's kind of the true story of Mike Mills, played by Ewan McGregor, where his father comes out as gay at like 75 and then is diagnosed with cancer 5 years later and is like kind of end stages. And so it's kind of like his relationship with his father, kind of dealing with like, oh, what does this mean for me, your sexuality? Because, you know, did you love my mother? Like, not having a problem with it, but just more like, does this change who I thought you were? Like those sorts of things that I think are very natural to deal with. And then also he's kind of falling in love with this girl, but they're maybe not like necessarily compatible, but they really want to make it work because they found each other. And there's a dog that he talks to throughout the whole movie. And this movie's stunning. Another 2010 one that went to Sundance that's kind of similar veins is Happy Thank You More Please.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
seen it.
Josh Radnor from How I Met Your Mother. It's like his Garden State.
Okay.
He wrote it, directed it, starred in it. Malin Ackerman is in it. Kate Mara, Zoe Kazan, Tony Hale. Love all of them.
Oh.
And it's very like... It's kind of a montage cast. It's kind of Love Actually-esque where there's a bunch of different stories kind of mingling. I love Tony Hale in this because he's not playing the neurotic Buster from Arrested Development, Tony Hale. He's this like kind of wise guy who just imparts wisdom. Another one, this is my last recommendation of this same slipping it in, but in the same vein, if you liked Away We Go.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Mendes directed this movie. It lost, like it was a 17 million budget and only made 14 million, so it lost money at the box office, but I really love that movie. That movie's important to me, but yeah, slipping those in. Beginners is my biggest wreck though. If I had two movies to say to watch, it would be Wristcutters and Beginners. Those are very important to me as like a screenwriter, but also just as a human who...
Very nice.
just I'm passionate about that one. But I feel like it's shocking to me that more people don't know. Like, I don't know how it didn't do better than it did. Again, Christopher Plummer got an Academy Award. It didn't get any other attention.
Wow.
Okay, I think we have, like, one more overrated.
The Irishman.
Yeah, hated it so much. Had so much frustration, and I sat through all 17 hours, and I want those back. And I love Goodfellas. I've seen The Godfather, but I'm not as captivated as other people. But Irishman for me was so frustrating because I thought, first of all, the makeup and the facial aging looked horrible. Like I thought Benjamin Button did a better job than this. Like I thought it was laughably bad. And I also like the acting is so bad. Like I remember calling my wife in and being like, just watch this scene. It's bad, right? Like it's bad. But to me, it didn't add anything new. Like, I want to talk to someone who liked it because I want to know what did this add to the gangster genre that wasn't already said before.
The one thing that I did like about it was I do like the fact that when all was said and done, it wasn't so much about his relationship with the mob. It was his relationship with individuals. So I do like it from that side. Mm-hmm. But everything else, I was like, it's too long. Like, there's nothing like getting me to the next scene where it's like, oh gosh, I want to know what happens. It was more like, I've already invested this much time into it. I'm seeing it through to the end.
Well, like in Goodfellas, he's a kid and he sees the power of the mob and he's like, ever since I was little, I wanted to be a gangster. Like, you get why he's in it. But there is just like, you want to be in the mob? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, I did not understand his motivation at all. And how did I not know that Joe Pesci was in Home Alone? Like, I learned this recently that he's...
Really?
Yeah, I did not know that. And I think it's because I watched those movies when I was a kid. But yeah, that like blew my mind when I learned that recently. I was like, he's the Home Alone burglar?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like, he really can take on any role, and you fully believe him in that role.
What a chameleon. Well, I think people must have agreed with you because The Irishman was shut out of the awards after having been nominated for so much. My last overrated movie, I hated The Ugly Truth in 2009 so much. And I put this in like...
Because it was incredibly sexist?
Yeah, well, it was offensive. It was misogynistic. She, like, is like, he's a big misogynist. Oh, wait, he's handsome. Like, I had no endearing qualities of this film. This, for me, falls in the, like, disappointing rom-com, which bums me out, because I love rom-coms. I have such a heart for them. I think they're really underrated, honestly, just, like, as a genre. Cat editing here. I then brought up why I thought Lost in Translation was disappointing, and Molly defended it well, and I ended up agreeing that I hadn't seen it for a really long time and I needed to rewatch, so I cut it because we kind of went on for a while, but we were talking about how Bill Murray's playing like a very different character than he normally does, and so that brings me to my next point here. Different sides of comedians. This could be a whole other, like, did you see, oh my gosh, Stranger Than Fiction?
Oh, yeah.
Hardcore in love with that movie.
That, yeah.
Will Ferrell in that, brilliant. Love it. Another Emma Thompson one.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. I don't think it got that much credit either, but like the scene where he sings, I go the whole wide world, I go the whole wide world just to find you, and then he like rocks out on the guitar as they make out. It's everything. I love that movie. So built up to me. High School Musical. My friends swore it was life-changing. And then
I'm not a High School Musical fan.
we like raced home after swim practice to watch it. And then I was like, okay, I'm into it. Sure. Okay. And then it was like the credits started rolling and I was like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, that was the movie. Wasn't it incredible? And I was like, wait, they never did the musical.
My sister loved the High School Musical movies. Yeah. I did not.
They never do the musical. It made me so mad.
They must have done something right because now they have the TV show, The High School Musical, the musical.
I cannot even begin to go into the outrage around that show. My wife tried to explain the plot to me. She's like, oh, it's like it takes place at the Wildcats, like East High. And I'm like, wait, like the fictional East High or like the real place where they filmed? And she's like, well, in this world, I cannot follow the meta-ness of this show. I'm sorry, I need to slip in one more underrated film so people will like me again after my poo-pooing upon their overrated films. I didn't have any like science fiction-y kind of ones, so I was going to slip in a totally different genre, which is Gattaca.
I don't even know that one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we watched this in a sociology class in college. 97, this came out. Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, Alan Arkin. It had a $36 million, Jude Law, a $36 million budget, and it only made $12 million. And it is so good. This movie is beautiful. It's like a society run by eugenics. So they like, if you're going to have a baby, they look at the best qualities genetically of man and the woman, and they decide which to put in the baby. So it's like selective genetics. So it's like kind of controversial, kind of like, you know, but everybody's perfect. But you can't like... It's expensive, but also like if you're an accident baby, if you're not one of these perfect babies, you're like the lowest class possible and there's no future for you. You have to be like perfect. So this man is born and he's like an accident baby and he wants to go to space, but he can't because again, he's not. And so he tries to like steal the identity of one of these perfect people. And it's just such an interesting film. And it's, again, very like science fiction-y, totally different from any of the others I mentioned. And I don't know why more people don't talk about this movie. Maybe because it had such a freaking huge budget and didn't win back its money. But it's Gattaca, 1997. I would throw that in there. So I have like 20 more, but I know we need to wrap up.
My underrated movies just continue to grow and grow.
We'll have to do another episode about like trash movies that are comforting to us. Or
I do have some of those.
Well, I appreciate your time today. This was fun.
Absolutely. This was a blast.
Thank you so much for your time today. We will do more episodes soon. And thanks to everyone listening. Send us movie recs. What do you think was over and underrated. Again, just our opinions, what we like, all subjective. Molly, I'm going to let you have the last meow.
Do I meow?
Yeah.
Okay. Meow.
Stunning.